Hey folks, this is Gray here, and I want to welcome everyone back. In today's video, we're going to look at 12 preparedness tips when preparing for a natural disaster like a hurricane. So in the last few years, you've seen a lot of destruction, either from tornadoes, hurricanes, flooding, lots of bad stuff out there, folks. Here come from June 1st all the way through November. Here in Florida, along the East Coast, the Gulf Coast, we are in hurricane preparedness mode. Hurricane season has started, and things may get bad. They think this is going to be a above average system this year. They say that it might work itself into a very busy season, but we shall see. But it's always good to be prepared. Even folks that are inland, places like Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, North Carolina, all those inland areas, you guys folks need to kind of take heed as well when preparing for hurricanes, and I hope that this video helps you folks out. Now, these 12 tips I'm going to go over in this video are just the basics. And what I mean by basics is if I say 2 weeks of water, maybe you should shoot for 30 days of water. If I say maybe this, you might want to kind of add to that. But I figure if I go to the bare essentials to kind of get by through an emergency, it makes it a lot more comfortable for people to digest. I feel personally in this situation, more is better. Some of the 12 key points that I'll be going over kind of relate to other videos that I've done in the past. I'll link those down in the description. If you have any questions at all, please add that down there in the comment section so that I can be aware and I can kind of answer those questions that you may have in regards to some of these tips that I'm going to be going over in this video. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the 12 essential preparedness tips for hurricanes and other natural disasters. All right, so number one for me is going to be one of the most important things is going to be water. So you need at least 1 gallon per person per day when you're preparing for a hurricane or any other natural disaster. One big thing about water storage, and if you're interested in a video, I did a whole video on a breakdown on water storage and treatments. I'll link it up in the description or down in the description, and I'll throw a little card up there. Is also make sure that you have some water treatment options just to be on the safe side, so that if this water's been sitting too long, you want to make sure either kind of cycling through your water or treating your water, and of course like dating it and whatnot, so that you know that the water is going to be suitable for you and your family. All right, so number 2 on the list is going to be non-perishable foods. Stuff like canned goods. Having enough canned goods to feed everyone in your family, possibly for a couple of weeks. As you guys have seen in the past, if you look at what happened in North Carolina, also the Gulf Coast of Florida, you've seen people can go without certain things for quite some time, and having this stuff like this on hand is going to be truly beneficial to you and your family. Non-perishable foods is pretty much self-explanatory, but I'm kind of focusing in on canned goods because most of this stuff is pre-cooked. You can open the can up if you have no way to heat it and still consume the foods. So that's going to be number 2 is non-perishable foods. All right, so number 3 is going to be a minimum of a 2-week supply of medication. I have different companies that I work with, like Contingency Medical, Jace Medical, and several others. I'll put, if you guys are interested in antibiotics and stuff like that, I'll throw them down in the description. But this is just to give you an idea that having a minimum, and again, with all this stuff, I'm kind of touching on the minimums of things, a minimum amount of water, minimum amount of food, just stuff like that. This is just to give you guys an idea of some of the things that you should probably prepare for as we are now into hurricane season. Also, I do want to add one other thing, is that if there's a state of emergency declared, I think your pharmacist can dispense up to a 30-day supply of medication as long as it's like a chronic illness or a chronic condition or whatnot. So always remember that. Talk to your pharmacist and see if you can get some extra meds just in case things go south and they're shut down for a while. All right, so number 4 is going to be batteries, folks. You want to make sure you have batteries for everything that you need batteries for, be it if it's flashlights and radios and yada, yada, yada. The list goes on. I could go on through 12 things that you need batteries for, but I'll show you some of the batteries that I have to kind of give you an idea. Maybe you have rechargeable batteries, alkaline batteries, NiCad batteries, whatever batteries that you're going to need. If you have hearing aids, scopes or anything that you need batteries for, make sure that you have a variety of batteries on hand. All right, so as you can see here, all kinds of different batteries. I got some D cells, packs of AA's and AAA's, a bunch of all different types of batteries running around. Just for all the things that we save batteries for. This is just one box of batteries that I have. These are some rechargeables, all different sizes. You just never know what you might need them for. And you also, one quick addition to that is you make sure that you want to test your batteries every once in a while to make sure that they're functioning and working appropriately. Be it if they're rechargeables or non-rechargeables, you just kind of want to test them and have just like a little cheap battery tester just to kind of give you an idea if there's a charge to those batteries. But that'll be number 4. Have yourself a bunch of batteries for all the devices that you have in your home that needs batteries. All right, number 5 is going to be one of my favorites. If you've been watching my channel for quite some time, you know I'm a connoisseur of flashlights. But you should have a flashlight. And what I mean by flashlight is you should have one for everyone in the family. That's going to be in your household, just because having that light, power goes out, you kind of want one either near your nightstand or wherever you're going to be. Just have some sort of flashlight, small, large, big, rechargeable, battery powered flashlights. Just because it's just beneficial to, when the power goes out or you need to go find something in the dark, shedding light on that situation is going to be great. Maybe you want to play a board game or whatnot. You can shoot the flashlight up in the air and have some lighting, some ambient lighting. If you're not, maybe you have some lanterns. Headlamps also come in very handy. If you need your hands, throw on a headlamp. That's also beneficial. So again, number 5 is going to be flashlights. All right, folks, so number 6 seems simple enough, but believe it or not, in the world that we live in, it's almost like a cashless society. People are paying with their smartwatches, their phones, their tap-to-pays, their credit cards. Sometimes when I'm at work, I might have very little amount of people that actually pay with cash. But in an emergency situation, you're going to need some moolah. In that moolah, you probably want, these are a bunch of 20s that I got in here, emergency kind of fund money. You probably want to have some small bills, some 1s, 10s, 5s, stuff like that. Having cash, because cash is king in an emergency, just because people aren't going to just trust the whole credit card system or your debit card because it may not work. You may not be able to access an ATM for a few days to possibly a month, depending on where you live at and how bad the damage is. So having cash, a substantial amount of cash, me personally, if you have it, some people say, you know, a couple $100, you know, I'm looking at $1,000. If I have to evac, I'm trying to take $1,000 in small bills, which seems crazy, but I've been into situations in the past where I have had to go from one place to another, and hotels and gasoline is just very hard to get a hold of unless you have cash. And of course, usually you're paying a little extra for those niceties in life, and having a substantial amount of cash on you to get through those situations is going to be beneficial. So that being said, number 6 is having cash on hand. All right, folks, so now we're at number 7. You need to have some sort of go bag ready to go, readily accessible in case you have to get evacuated, in case you got to go in a moment's notice. Have that bad boy ready to go. I keep mine in my vehicle. It has its own spot in my back seat. It's seat belted in, ready to go. I have all kinds of different supplies in here. I don't think I've ever done a breakdown of that. And I always keep spare water, emergency supplies. I just keep a lot of things in the vehicle. But having a go bag is going to be an essential thing. Being that it's always in my vehicle, it is ready to go. Maybe you have yours in your home. Just make sure everybody knows where they're at. And they're, like I said, readily accessible. You grab them, you go, and you got to go wherever you're going to be at. You have all the things that you need, so make sure you pack that appropriately. All right, folks, so number 8 is going to be first aid. Have a first aid kit in your home. I would say also have a trauma kit, but you need to have some training with that. If you do, awesome. But just having a standard first aid kit can help a lot with, you know, nicks, scratches, boo-boos, owies, stuff like that, especially if you have children. Having a generalized first aid kit with lots of little things in there, some additional medications like your over-the-counters, your OTCs, ibuprofen, anti-diarrheals, nausea, and the list goes on. But try to find a nice little first aid kit. You can pick these anywhere up from like 10 to 20 bucks on there. If you guys have any questions in regards to some of the content that I'm going over today, just put that down in the comments and I'll answer them. I'm usually pretty good about answering them. And if you see something in a video that you want a link to, I can do that too, but this is just more of an educational video. In regards to first aid, I've done lots of videos on that. And again, I will link some of the other videos that kind of correspond to this down in the description. Outside of just having a standard first aid kit, maybe you want to go big and have a full-size first aid kit, especially depending on the size of your family. You can pack a lot more into here. You can put a trauma kit in the front. You can put all your ouchie and boo-boo stuff in here, and then additional stuff in the back like splints, sutures, all that kind of stuff in the back here. Having a just ready to grab and go kind of first aid kit. I got a tourniquet, some other stuff in there. This is a little bit, I guess you could say, over the top, but being in a situation that I've been into in the past and being through multiple storms and seeing the injuries that I have, something like this could truly come in handy. Maybe you got neighbors you care for or extended family members. Be able to grab this and go with it is another kind of grab and go first aid kit that has a lot of gear in there. Again, number 8, first aid. All right, so number 9 is going to make sure that you have a charger for your phone. This day and age, I know some people like hurricane, Gray, cell phone towers go out, but you can use cell phones because you either have information downloaded on there, maybe you have games, things that are non-cellular based, but it also works in communications, which we'll touch here in a bit. But having a way to keep that little computer in your hand charged. You got small little compact units like this that attach to the back of the phone if you have like the mag chargers or whatnot. Or you can get cases that you can use these. Most of the Samsung and the Apple phones take these like kind of chargers that attach to the back, have some power that way. You can use things that I've went in the past, these little kind of solar panel power banks. These guys here, have done plenty of reviews on this stuff here. You can charge it via solar. You can charge several different things on here. It also has a light on the back, so it doubles as a flashlight. Or if you really want to be cool, the cool dude, you can have the larger chargers. I just did a review of the Char Geek and I think the Anker 747. These things are monsters. These are the extreme fast chargers that are going to charge your stuff up like that. As much as the phone can handle, these things are going to put out multiple ways to charge things. And like I said, they can hold a lot of power. I forget how many milliamps this is, but you kind of get the gist of it. So you got small, medium, and large, depending on which direction you want to go. These also work great for small electronics as well. Again, number 9, have a charging device or charging brick for your cell phones or maybe other small electronics. All right, so we're at number 10. And this is going to be a battery-powered radio, preferably with something with NOAA on there, which is your weather station, so that you can keep tabs on what's going on around you, weather alerts and stuff like that. You got all these different types of little ones like this. This is one of those wind-up ones that you can kind of wind up, has a little solar thing on there. Gets a lot of the bands, has a weather band on there as well. And you also have ones like this here, shortwave radios with AM, FM, NOA, and all that stuff like that. You can do that. That's battery powered as well. You can also charge that via different ways. You can have batteries, Type C, and the list goes on. What I want to add to this is having some sort of form of secondary communication. Cell towers go out. Maybe you have a GMRS type of radio. Maybe you have some sort of comm systems that everybody in the family is on the same channel. Everybody knows how to use it. You have push and go, and you're like, hey, so-and-so, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. Maybe your neighbors that you're tight with. Maybe you live in a rural area and there's a couple people down the street within a mile or two, and you can just keep track of each other when comms go down. They work great for emergencies. There's something new I'm working on. These POCs, basically it's a push to talk over cellular. I'm going to do a review of these. There's pros and cons to it. Some really good stuff and some stuff. Their marketing kind of sucks, but I'll go with that in a different video. But so far, I've been using these for a couple of months now, and they've come in pretty handy. Number 10, having a battery-powered radio and backup comms, secondary comms for emergencies. All right, folks, so now we're at number 11, and this is going to be you want some sort of list that you're going to either because if your phone dies and you don't have a way to charge that phone, if you don't have the other things that I've discussed in this video, maybe you have something laminated or a piece of paper in your wallet, purse, whatever it may be, go bag, list of emergency phone numbers. This means not only your local family and friends, but if you have family and friends that you want to get in contact with outside of the state that you're in or somewhere in the state, but further south, further north, wherever that may be, you want to have those numbers because a lot of us, we used to be able to retain phone numbers in our brain, and now it's like we don't even know our own phone number at this point. And so having that list readily accessible of all your emergency contacts. Or let's say something happens, a tree falls, something happens, you get into an accident, you're unconscious, someone can see that, they look and they see your ID, then they see this little list, and they can reach out to those people on that emergency contact list, or you're in a shelter or whatnot. People have ways to get a hold of medical emergency, stuff like that. 911 is going to be a no-brainer. So basically this is more for like friends and family and people that you want to keep in the know during a situation like a hurricane. All right, so moving right into number 12 is going to have a copy of your insurance policy. Let's say you get, what's the word I'm looking for, evacuated because the storm is going to be that bad. And as you've seen in previous storms, some houses are demolished. There could be tornadoes, flood damage. It could be a lot of different scenarios that are going to happen. And you want to make sure that you have your insurance policies, maybe for your vehicles, if you leave a vehicle there, for your house, for anything else that's associated to your property, equipment. Maybe you also want to add stuff like in a case like this that you know everything is inside of, marriage certificates, deeds, any other important documents. You want to keep them all together. Make sure everybody in the home knows where that. So if dad says, hey, grab the, all the docs, you know exactly where to go, what folder to look for. You're going to grab that and head out with those documents. And real quick, one bonus one that I want to add that some people may not think about is having a paper map, knowing your evacuation routes, maybe having that paper map where it's highlighted where your evacuation routes are. If that evacuation route is clogged, you might want to look at secondary, even, I don't know what you would call it, but A, B, C, and D evacuation, back roads, anywhere that you know that you might be able to get around some of these kind of bottlenecks, because highways usually get pretty backed up. But having a paper map so that you can kind of see this in case, again, your electronics are down. You want to have this paper map. You want to have some sort of something to go with it, knowing that these things that are highlighted on this map, that even you can hand it off to your 12-year-old and they can like, yeah, Dad, 95 south, east on this, west over here, and we're going to get from point A to point B in a safety zone. So, yep, a little bonus there is the maps and knowing your evacuation routes, and make sure that everyone in the household knows your emergency plan. If you found any value in this video, I appreciate if you hit that thumbs up button. And the other thing that you can do outside of watching this video from front to back, which is always truly appreciated, is share this out with folks that you might find that who may need something like this to kind of get them on a right track in regards to emergency preparedness in the realm of preparing for hurricanes, especially if they're new to some of the areas. Maybe they're new to Louisiana, maybe they're new to South Carolina, North Carolina, the Gulf Coast states, Florida, so on and so forth. Share this out with friends and family so that they can be prepared, or at least get the underlying essentials when getting prepared, and to do it now, not to do it, when the storm is approaching. Do it now before the crowds and the craziness happens, and save yourself a lot of time, heartache, anger, and emotional distress. Now, if I missed anything that you feel that has value or adds to this conversation, or you think that should be added to the list, because we could probably go over 20 of them, but please put that down in the description, or not in the description, but in the comment section, so other folks, as they're reading the comments, they can see some of your suggestions, not just my own, because I don't feel it's just my channel. I feel like it's our channel, and we're a community-based channel, and I love to hear from you, the viewers, in regards to things that you can add to this video to help others out. Outside of that, folks, remember, you are not alone. This is GreyMan. I'm out. I'll see you guys on the rebound. God bless all you amazing people out there. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video.